Show, Coq de la Blatch. Welcome to the Change News channel. This is Comrade Rudski, joined today with, sorry, I'm really bad at this, economic historian John Sneisen, a.k.a. we're going to call him Red Lips because of this video. Also, of course, with Tim Picciott. He's a normal here. We're going to call him, he's a financial planner, by the way. We're going to call him Gulag Pachtete. That's actual, a real food. That's going to be a name here. I want to welcome all of you guys to communism, because that's essentially what we have here in one of the craziest weeks in economic, monetary history ever. There's, again, what's happening right now to the economy is unrecognizable. A lot of people, finally now the experts are warning that this is a historic collapse. We have the latest news coming from Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin, warning that this could last, 10 to 12 weeks. There's some estimates talking about a year plus, some estimates on the moderate side saying 6 months. But again, a lot is still unknown. A lot is still developing. And of course, there's a lot of economic action, as we're also getting the news that there's going to be another pump of $1 trillion. Families are getting $3,000 each. Red Lips or Gulag Pachtete, what do you think is the, I'll let you guys fight over who wants to take this. What do you think is the most significant move as of late to you that catches your eye?
I think Red Lips sounds more communist. Yeah, we got a lot of Republican communism going on, so I'll let Red Lips, Lieutenant Red Lips, go first.
I got my pulse in there. Woo! Woo! Free money for everybody. Woo! That's what's gonna happen. You know, just watch the economy. All these banksters, all these governments around the world, they're gonna bail everybody out. They're gonna print free money to everyone, and we're starting to see that in Norway. They have like $200 billion. Worth of stimulus. Well, no, sorry, $20 billion US worth of stimulus, which is massive for a tiny little economy. They're like completely bankrupt. They're bailing out everybody left, right, and center. All their corporations, all their banks are getting bailed out. Same here in Canada. They're getting really desperate. They put out the $82 billion stimulus fund. Germany's putting out 375 billion euro. To stave off, massive economic impact that they're having. We're getting shutdowns, all over the place. Like here in Manitoba, they just declared a state of emergency. So they're actually the Royal Canadian Mint, both the gold and silver one in Ottawa and the coin mintage one here in Winnipeg has shut down. So there's no more coinage getting made right now, or gold and silver rounds for 2 weeks. How is that going to impact the markets, of course? And then, of course, there's massive stimulus into the economy by these central banks. You had announcement of $700 billion that the Federal Reserve is doing, are going to do. Then you have 50 euros that, ECB is doing. So they're just pumping, they're doing exactly what I did, but I run out of ammunition in my money cannon, and that's what they're going to do too. Because they're all broke. They just need to keep this Ponzi scheme alive and print as much money as they can to, keep the economy afloat. But it's going to be so much more than, 700 billion. We're probably looking at, just from looking at the submittance of, treasuries and mortgage-backed securities that they put up for this QE that the central bank is buying, the Federal Reserve, you're looking at $2-3 trillion that probably they're going to just have to add very soon in order to keep these banks from going completely bankrupt.
Tim, before we go into you, you bring up good points, Red Lips. It's nice and sorry. I just tweeted, why do we have to pay taxes when this week the government proved it could just print unlimited money out of thin air? That's exactly what they're doing. It's absolutely insane. Now, you mentioned silver. Silver's at $12.59 now, but everywhere you try to buy it, it's over $23. The demand for silver is extremely high right now. And Tim, Mr. Gulag Pachtete, that's an actual food. Pachtete is an actual Eastern European food, by the way. Just saying for the record.
Served into gulags?
It's also like just about as close to my real last name as what you usually say too. So.
I know I'm horrible with names. I love you, Tim. The conversation, by the way, this conversation is going to continue on Tim's channel because John Sneisen and Tim, they do these videos regularly. They could go on for a while, but Tim, like you were saying at first, you know, crypto is going to go down, especially when the economy goes down. I saw Jeff Berwick also release his old videos. You released your old videos saying, yeah, when the market goes down, crypto is going to go down. Crypto's going up. As of course you guys were saying, first is going to go down a little bit. What are what's the shining light here? What are you seeing that's kind of good here as far as Bitcoin, silver, and all these other alternatives? Because obviously the regular market is just pretty crazy.
Yeah, Luke, or I forgot what you're going by right now, but
Rudski.
Yeah, Rudski. Well, what's going on right now with crypto is exactly what I thought was going to happen, is that we would see a 50 to 80% decline in the initial phases. But then the second part of that thesis was on a long enough time horizon, eventually we'd have this hockey stick J curve up in terms of how much stimulating that the Federal Reserve is doing, all central banks around the world, governments, and it's actually the pace of this, how crazy it's been, is actually shocking me. And my ability to be shocked these days is pretty much non-existent. But if you're taking a look at everything that's going on, I mean, I almost wish we had the tyranny that we had 3 weeks ago, because those were starting to look like the good days. And then at the rate things are going, we're going to be wishing that we're only as bad as we are off right now, probably in 3 weeks. I mean, I hope that isn't the case. But as these governments keep printing more and more money, and not really even governments, because the Federal Reserve is a private institution. And you made a great point, Rudski, that why do we even have to pay taxes if you can just print all the money up out of thin air? It's because the taxes are meant to control. It's like the movie The Bug's Life, where it's not about the food. It's about keeping those ants in line. And right now, we are the ants. We're the tax slaves, and they need to use us to basically use taxes to socially engineer us to get to the world that they want to live in. Now, take a look at what just happened the past week. We had the Dow lost 4,000 points. That's the largest point decline ever in a week. We had percentage-wise down 17.3%. The last time that happened was 2008. And then we also had, I believe, there's a trailing 18-day period ending on Wednesday, where balanced portfolios, and these are what most 55 to 65-year-olds are in. I mean, I am a financial advisor, shameless plug, but what I do is every time I see a person's portfolio, not necessarily from like our crowd, but if you take like the average person that's just out there, they almost all have 60% stocks, 40% bonds. And so they want to be safe. They want to be diversified. Well, your safe, diversified portfolio just lost 15.3% in 18 days. And the odds of that happening were 8 standard deviations. And I don't even know how, and Wikipedia only goes up to 7. 7 standard deviation is once in a billion-year event. Once in a billion freaking years. But it's more than that, because it's 1 extra standard deviation, but it only
Tim, you're diversified in raw sewage. What do you expect?
Yeah, and so I mean, and again, if you guys go back to the anarcho-poco talk, a lot of that is already starting to become outdated. I was going on stage talking about how there's this repo market and that the banks need to keep 10% in reserves overnight. Well, that's already out the window, and we had known that this was going to eventually go down, and I didn't know it would go down to 0. But right now, the banks are required to hold on to 0% of your dollars. So it used to happen is you give them $100, they will lend out 90. Now they can lend out the whole thing, so they don't have your money. And John, this is kicking it off to Red Lips over here, is that he came out with a bankrun. Is it bankrun.com or bankrun.org?
Org.
Up here somewhere.
.org.
So let me.
Happening.
So do you want to explain, John, maybe what's going on with that?
Before we get into that, before let me just kind of narrate this conversation before we go off, because I know you guys talk a lot. You guys are going to be continuing this video later on, but I just released a video just right now as I'm doing this video, showing a picture of Bernie Sanders looking utterly confused, scratching his head, because this might be the most interesting time for him to have Donald Trump literally institute all of his policies and do everything that he promised to do. And I could just imagine being Bernie Sanders and losing your mind. Of course, the mainstream media attacking him. I went into full detail on that on the main channel. But are we in communism? I mean, this is essentially socialism. We're here ushered in by Donald Trump, and it looks like it's only going to get worse, as we have a Wall Street Journal article here that's titled "The Worst of the Global Sell-Off Isn't Here Yet. Banks and Investors Warn." So what do you guys see coming? And then Red Lips, and then Gulag Pachtete, and then we'll finish off and then go to your channel.
Well, I think Trump has gone full commie. That's basically what he had to do to, save the economy. The government's coming in. The problem, though, is the government could keep on, shoving money as they shut down the whole economy into the economy. But now they're looking at, taking over corporations and everything. And voila, we entered into communism without even wanting it. So that's basically where they're heading right now. And they're heading, in a very dangerous path. They're looking at here in Canada implementing the War Measures Act to have full control over you and do whatever they want with you. I heard the Department of Justice is wanting to suspend, certain amendments, especially the Second Amendment.
They're asking to have the powers to indefinitely detain people in the United States. The DOJ is. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, and it's insane. That's the measures. And it was in Israel. They're actually basically tracing everybody right now. And if you have COVID, they'll be tracing you and picking you up if you have your phone with you anywhere, and you get detained instantly if you're not on your quarantine, as well. So yeah, they put in a lot of measures, and what we're seeing is the wet dream of all these governments around the world that they always have wanted to do is have full control over the peasants, and that's where we're heading towards, Luke.
Yep. Gulag Pachtete.
One of the funny things I see is I keep getting advertisements for Trump hats that say "Keep America Great," and they show that they're 25% off. So I'm just wondering if they're mirroring whatever the Dow is going down. So maybe by next week they'll be 33% off, 40% off, 50% off. But I mean, talk about the need for a new tagline: "Keep America Great." This is, and I don't necessarily blame him for what's going on, but I do blame him for getting everyone's hopes bought into this big bubble and then trying to get people wrapped up into the stock market at the worst time possible. And now he's saying that he's not a fan of stock buybacks. Well, how the hell do you think the stock market got to where it is? The only reason the stock market is where it is because of stock buybacks. And then I even had a quote where I was actually giving credit to Paul Krugman. And just like you said in our video yesterday that you were giving credit to AOC on something, I never agree with Paul Krugman on anything. I use him to see what to do the opposite of. And here, Trump was saying, we need to have a weak dollar, but then he's also bragging about how all this money's coming over here, which the reason the money was coming over here is because we were paying interest and nobody else was. And then he's also at the same time saying he doesn't want that to occur. And so you can't have it both ways. There's always unintended consequences. And when they try, doing something over here, it invariably messes with something over there. And these guys constantly mess things up. It's what they're best known for. And there's no way that we're not going to go into a massive recession. This was already baked into the cake eventually, whether or not this happened to begin with. And I'm probably willing to say that I was the first person that both predicted Trump was going to win. And then 40 days into his presidency, I came out on Facebook and then made a video on this saying that Trump was going to lose 40 days into his presidency after saying he was going to win in 2015. Yeah. So,
but Tim, you're going to have Comrade Rudkowski have everything under control. Don't worry.
Trumsky's a good name. Okay, so I think that's enough for this channel. What are you guys going to be talking about on Gulag Pachtete's channel?
Man, we've got so many different articles pulled up here. I mean, this has been the craziest week, I think, ever. And with John being a monetary historian, we're going to talk about, kind of some parallels of this to the Great Depression. We're going to talk about Trump and how he's going to be, taking stake in certain companies. We've got the Germans who are printing money, and the Germans aren't really known for, well, I guess they were back in the 30s, known for that. We've got the Federal Reserve coming in, buying up the muni bond market, and we're going to talk about how that ties into the pension funds, how the pension funds are going to have to basically be nationalized at some point. We've got, we'd already mentioned the emergency powers by the Department of Injustice. Now, this one's important. The King Dollar is back, creating a big headache for the global economy. And so essentially the quick version of this is I think that the strength of the dollar, the strength is eventually going to lead to its weakness. It's a very paradoxical thing to say. Goldman Sachs injecting billions of dollars into their money market funds. Economists see 5 million or more job losses. Not that that's funny. It's just, this is a gallows humor, end times type of laugh where I'm doing over here. Not that I'm happy about this. Senators selling stocks. I mean, there's just so much stuff going on. Even the preview is going to take a while. So head over to Picciott, the Liberty Advisor channel. We'll have that link down below. Give us some love. This is called the Tim and John Show. And, John, what else we're going to talk about?
I feel like I just watched your video, for frick's sakes.
Well, basically that's what we're going to talk about. There's not too much else to add other than all the stimulus around the world that is happening. We're going to go a little bit into that as well, and just tell everybody what's happening in the world, this crazy world with, you know, the COVID-19 is just spreading like nuts in the US right now. And of course, Rudski got out of town before Elenan basket.
Well, Comrade Red Lips and Comrade Gulag Pachtete, I salute you to the motherland, and see you on the channel, which will be linked below. Hope you guys enjoyed that video. Share it with your friends and family members. Stay tuned for more here on Change the News channel. I don't think channel's a part of the title. Doesn't matter. Stay tuned for more.